Hello everyone, my name is Ali Fioraihan Darmawan. Alongside my teammates, the Nugrahini and Bernardi Santosa, would like to present about introducing logic model and TOC models, which is the first two chapter of the book Logic Models Guidebook. So here are the contents that we're going to present, part 1 from the chapter 1 of the book and part 2 and 3 from the chapter 2. So moving along to the first chapter is introducing logic models. The first thing I want to talk about is the models and modeling differences. Logic models is a tool that convey a scheme or a project in a brief or a project in visual format. Logic models support design, planning, communication, evaluation, and learning. Meanwhile, modeling is a technique. It allows careful consideration of the relationship between activities and result. So here's for logic models. Models are a product of modeling. Logic models are a visual method presenting an idea. They offer a way to describe and share an understanding of relationship. Benefits of using logic models. So let's put it this way: organization wants effectiveness. Logic models offer strategic means to critically review and improve thinking. With improved thinking equals better result, and better result, of course, end up in effectiveness of the organization. It supports creating and communicating a common understanding of challenges, resources, and intended success. The theory of change model is the simplest form of model. It's basically to view the general representation of how you believe change will occur in order to achieve the goal at the end of the day. For example, is this one. You can see it's the model for leadership development. We read it from the left to the right. The right would be the objective, and from the left is the start and the process. It's very simple compared to the next one, which is the program logic. So it have more feature. It's more specified. So it will create more understanding on how exactly the idea would be achieved. So like the process and the clear step by step process, compared to just the general idea that theory of change able to perform. So here's the example. As I mentioned earlier, it have more processes. It's more specified, even though it's the same case as the example that was provided for the theory of change. So here's a short comparison of features between the two. You can see more detail on the program logic one and not for the theory of change. Here's how they use it. Theory of change more being used on the design part, and program logic could be used in planning and implementation and evaluation. Lastly, effectiveness. Logic models can help the design that ensures the right work, the plans and implementation that reflect better decisions, the evaluation that tests both pathways and progress toward success. So it's a tool towards effective programs, projects, and of course organization.
Hi guys, my name is Ayu, and today I will be presenting on Part 2, Chapter 2A, Building Theory of Change Logic Models. As previously stated by my friend Fio, there are two basic types of logic models, the theory of change and the program models. The theory of change is a general representation of how the researcher thinks that the change will actually undergo. Meanwhile, the program models are much more descriptive and detailed than that of the theory of change. So, which one is better to use is the question, of course. The choice of which to use depends on what you need on your model. Therefore, both of these can be used to begin with. However, it is important that program model should go hand in hand with theory of change. Program model is the one that's definitely more detailed and all, but however, should it should have a theory of change in it too, because before you can go into the details, you have to have a general representation of what you want it to of what you want to happen. So therefore, there are certain things that you have to think about before you choose which one you want to use. The first one should be the preferences and styles. This varies in what level of detail the researcher prefers. If they prefer it to be much more detailed, therefore they can use the program model. But if they want just a general representation of it all, then they can use the logic model. I mean, the theory of change model. However, these both approaches have the certain value that they can accommodate with, and they accommodate differences in how any individual approaches the task that they want to display. So Therefore, it actually depends entirely on that of the user. It should be both evidence based and plausible. Theories of change can be grounded either in an established claim with proof or in a hypothesis. This is very different because in an established claim with proof, therefore, you think you actually have proof already, and maybe another researcher have done the same or the similar research, and then you have proof that this actually happens. So therefore it's established. But if it's a hypothesis, therefore you are on the verge of a breakthrough, let's just say that. So it's if you have a hypothesis and you want to prove that it's correct or it's actually factual, you can definitely say that you are again, as I said before, that you are on the verge of a breakthrough. The theory of change logic models gives the big pictures of strategies that could generate the intended results. Because again, it's just a general representation. It's not very detailed like that of a program model. So it's a big picture of what you think the result will be once you get into the research itself. Multiple strategies and results. This is talking about how most people use how oftenly most people use several different strategies to yield results, because there's if you just use one strategy, it's not very varied and you can't actually pinpoint if it's the truth or not. If you use different results and maybe it yields different, um, if you use different strategies and therefore it yields different results, maybe you can actually talk about these differences make a lot of difference. It's weird, but yeah, if you have different results, therefore you have these things that you have to think about too and actually put into your research again. So the basic theory of change is that when you want to do something, there is a strategy and you want it to yield a result, a certain result. But this isn't the case because we live in a society where it's very, there are a lot of things that affect what you believe in and that affect the change itself. So therefore, most of the time, there is a multiple strategy basic theory of change. When you want to do something and you want to get the said results, you have to have a lot of strategies. Maybe if you want to get some good grades, the first strategy would be to time manage, to have a good time management. Then the second one is to have a good study plan, and maybe the third one is to delete all your social media so you don't get distracted. So these different strategies will get you the result that you want. However, if you only do one strategy, maybe like time management, but you don't study or something else, or you get distracted too, or you get distracted, therefore the results will not be as good as when you have these different strategies memorized or planned. So again, the theory of change model should be realistic. It should demonstrate plausibility. As I quote from the book itself, they talk about world peace. And yes, world peace is a plausible thing to do, to have, maybe. But then again, if we only use one strategy, maybe with the form of communication, we won't be able to yield to get that result. So therefore, we have to have a lot of strategies to attain world peace. It's realistic, yes, but it's very, very hard if we only implement one strategy uh into that um result. So if we want world peace, we should have a lot of things up our sleeve, not just communicating, not just good relationship with all of the countries in the world. Maybe we should stop wars first, maybe we should abolish capitalism. I don't know. I mean, there's so much ways that we can do to obtain that, but if we only use one way, it would be very impossible to do so. So, knowledge and assumptions, this is very important to talk about because while not used often, we commonly bring what we believe to our theories of change. It is critical to recognize the role of beliefs. So, before maybe we want, when we are researching, we are human, so we are not free of bias in our research, and we should we should acknowledge that. We should acknowledge that we will have certain assumptions and certain beliefs with how our research will turn out to be. So therefore, it's very important that we think about this. So yeah. So action steps: creating a theory of change logic model. So um this is the informing a theory of change. There is the knowledge first, there is the belief, there's the assumption, which I will talk about later, there is the do, which is the strategies, and which will yield set results. So the first steps is we will need to identify the results. As I already gave an example beforehand, we want the result to be world peace, maybe. So the step two is we have to name the strategies we can do to obtain said world peace. So communicating, yes. Second one, maybe trying not to get involved in certain countries' politics, or maybe we need to stop wars all over the world. So yeah, we have to name the strategies that we can do to obtain the results we want. So the step three is defining underlying assumptions. So of course, since we're researchers, since we want the result to be world peace, maybe, we have to assume something because as humans, we are not free from assumptions, maybe. So it's like saying the result will be successful if I do this, maybe. So, or if, let's just put it more simply, maybe. I identify a result that if students do work after 8 a.m., they will be much more productive if they start at 7 a.m., maybe. So the strategy would be, how do I get this result? How do I know that they will be more productive after 8 a.m.? But I would have already assumed because I have gone through that myself because after 8 a.m. I am more productive than when I am waking up at 6 a.m. and then showering and then having this very fast breakfast before I go to class. And therefore, defining the underlying assumptions and knowing that we have bias because we're humans is very important because it might affect our research itself and our theory itself. Therefore, before we start, after we name the strategies and all, we have to know the assumptions that we might think about, and therefore trying not to make these assumptions affect the results. So yeah, that's my part um, of the presentations, and after this, it will be by Kadio. So
Okay, so welcome to part three. This is the final part of our presentations. In this part, I'm going to explain to you guys about improving theory of change logic models. So, based on the book, there are actually four suggestions that contributes to the improvement of theory of change logic models. The first one is the engaging multiple stakeholders. Second, share explicit assumptions. Third, toggle. Fourth, explore and benchmarking. For the first suggestions, which is engage multiple stakeholders, this refers to how there are multiple perspectives that might exist in developing theory of change logic models. So for the first point, there are variety of perspective for sure. Take an example of singing competitions such as Indonesian Idol or The Voice. In those shows, there are multiple judges who assess the competition, and those judges are professional who have their own way of practicing their talent to be who they are right now. And for sure, they have their own perspective of what a good artist would be. So, understanding this different perspective leads to the second point, which is it is very important to ensure every stakeholders specify their results and strategies. If meaning and measures of results are shared and understood similarly, this will improve your strategies to align with the intended impact, and also it's more likely that the indicators of the progress will be decent. This slide refers to the second suggestion, which is sharing explicit assumptions. In theory of change logic models, alignment among research, theory, practice, and experience is heavily pursued. In the figure, you can see that lacking of research and theory combined with lacking practice and experience will most likely to lead your model to failure. So in conclusion, a decent amount of research and theory, practice and experience will significantly improve your model. The third suggestion refers to toggling. To put it simply, it is basically testing the models to make the best choices, finding the optimal fit between a selected set of strategies and possible results. If you can see in the figure, it actually displays the testing that occurs. This is actually an effort to determine the best combination of strategies to secure your intended result. This slide refers to the last suggestions, which is explore and benchmarking. One way to improve your model is to explore strategies and results of other programs that are similar. In the private sector, this is often referred to benchmarking. Benchmarking may include a review of document, a survey, and discovery with peers or competitors. This leads to a better understanding of the rational thinking for their strategies and related results that can deeply inform your design choices. Considering you create a team in the purpose of creating theory of change models, there are several processes that needed to be considered. The first, gathering and sharing knowledge. Second, identifying strategies and results. Third, deciding on the most feasible options. Fourth, identifying resources needed. Fifth, putting out strategies. And lastly, review and testing your model. These are the guiding questions for reviewing a theory of change model. This can be very useful for developing your model. You can pause the video and try to read every questions and understand each one of them. The theory of change logic models, as we have seen so far from the presentation, is always in linear sequence. However, the world is much more complicated. Most change occurs in cycles and with multiple interactions among many features. So, as you can see in the figure, it is a simple example of nonlinear theory of change models. The four strategies that contribute to results occur in specific sequence over and over again. Their interactions contributes to the center target, which is the results. Once the results of our models are specified, the discussions that should be encouraged during the developing of our model are about these two questions. First, what are ways we could resolve this challenge? Second, what are the most effective and efficient ways to secure result? I believe that's all from our presentation. We hope you get a better understanding of theory of change and logic models. See you in discussions. Thank you and have a good day.